Time now for the Bud Light Kentucky Basketball Postgame Show on ESPN Louisville Plus. Cats coverage also presented by Cox's and Evergreen Liquors, your neighborhood liquor store. Kentucky branded, your home for all things Kentucky. Carriage Ford, best by a country mile. Bear Nose Pizza, yeah, it's that good. BJ Heating and Cooling, call the experts you can trust. Barnes Auto Service, reliable repairs from bumper to bumper. Ale 8, Kentucky's original soft drink since 1926. And UPS Jobs, apply today, upsjobs.com/worldport. Now, here are your hosts, TJ Walker and Zach Cantrell.
Hello, everybody. Happy Saturday afternoon. Happy 2026, January 3rd, 2026. Nearly slipped up there right off the jump. This is the Bud Light UK basketball postgame show. And once again, it's another big game. And once again, it's another loss for Mark Pope and the Kentucky Wildcats. These Saturdays, dude, I am over my Saturday being partially ruined because UK athletics just lays an egg. I did enjoy the St. John's and Indiana game. That was a nice change of pace, but it's just been more of the same for Mark Pope's Kentucky basketball program. Big game. People get excited about it. The nation's watching. And time again, Kentucky lays an egg, and they did just that. One more time. It probably won't be the last time. I'll guarantee you it won't be the last time. But 89-74, Alabama, from start to finish, they're in control. UK jumped out to that 5-0 lead, and then Alabama promptly went on a 27-11 run, and the rest was history, Zach Cantrell. First and foremost, I've missed you. I know things haven't been great for you and your sports fandom. Things haven't been great for me and my sports fandom, but we're here together. We're going to vent. It's going to feel good. How are you, buddy? Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you, man. I've been, since Thanksgiving, my football teams haven't won a game. So, yeah, it's a lot of fun over here. But, look, Mark Pope, how many times do we have to see this where his team is not ready for a big game? It's just they played 7 marquee games this year, and they've trailed by 20 in 4 of them. 20! I mean, his teams are not ready. He's not starting the right people. Jaden Quaintance isn't starting. I know you're trying to ease him back into the process, but he doesn't look like he needs to be eased back. Jalen Lowe should be the starting point guard for this team. Cam Williams should be starting for this team. I mean, he came off the bench. He made a couple of threes, and he barely played. I mean, Mark Pope is not playing the right people. I don't know if it's seniority. I don't know if he's just loyal to the wrong people. I don't know what the case is. And now, guess what? You've lost 4 straight.
He could just be a dumbass. He could just be a dumbass, Zach Cantrell. And we're uncensored here on EL Plus. And why are you not starting these dudes? And I don't think Kentucky lost the game necessarily because of that. But I don't know. The game was pretty well out of hand early on, and maybe if the tone is a little bit different. Our buddy Wildcats Tongue had a tweet saying how UK's best lineup played 0 minutes together in the first half, and that includes, obviously, Jalen Lowe, JQ, Cam Williams, Otega Owe. Those 4 have to be on the floor together as much as physically possible, and Mark Pope, it almost seems intentional. And we're going to do like a little inside baseball on today's show. We're going to do just our opinions, and we're going to rant, and we're going to vent. And as much as we can hear from you, we're going to try, and we want to. And I'm going to have Justin kind of drop in here in just a second and he's going to tell you how you can participate in the show. And we're so happy Bellarmine basketball's playing. So back in the old day, we just wouldn't have a show. There'd be no place to vent, and we'd be in a little bit of trouble. But now we're lucky to have this stream, and you can participate in the Bud Light Kentucky postgame show. But I don't know what he's doing. I don't get it. I don't understand it at all. If you want to play the injury route, I can definitively say that JQ's camp is not on board with that. They want him to play as much as possible. That is factually true. That's not like inside information for me. Talk to the people that know stuff. JQ wants to play, and they're not happy with how little he's playing. Now, I'll say this. I thought JQ looked like a little step slow tonight, but what the other alternatives were Malachi Marino or Brandon Garrison? I'd rather have a step slow JQ than roll the dice. And then I get it. Jalen Lowe, Zach, he can get hurt at any moment. It could happen on a physical play. It could happen potentially on a non-contact play. Nothing would surprise me with him. But so you're trying to save him as the game's getting away from you? No, play him. And guess what? If he gets hurt, then the season's over and that's that. But you're shooting yourself in the foot by not playing your best lineups to try to protect the season. I've got some bad news about the season, Mark Pope. It's a disaster. It's a disaster. And I'm sick of it. I'm just sick of watching UK get our kitty cat cheeks clapped on the reg, Zach Cantrell. These are big games. You need to win that. What was the stat that they had at halftime? That was Alabama's biggest halftime lead over UK in 30 years?
30 years, yeah. Oh, by the way, Alabama, they've now won 4 straight against Kentucky. In basketball, we're not talking about football. Kalen DeBoer's not winning 4 straight against Kentucky anymore. But Nate Oates certainly is. This is a team that last year, twice against Alabama, got blown out. Blown out in Tuscaloosa, blown out in the SEC tournament. And Mark Pope clearly made just incredible adjustments because the same thing happened again. Only 2 guys in double figures the entire day. Otega Owe, who played 36 minutes. Okay, that makes sense. Jalen Lowe played 27 minutes. He was the other guy in double figures. And you don't even want to start Jalen Lowe. It makes no sense whatsoever. And people want to say, oh, it's about the minutes played. It's not about the starts. Starting matters. You know why? Because if you start the wrong guys, you're down 15. You're down 20. And there's a good chance you're probably not going to recover from that. We're 2 years into the Mark Pope experience, and he still doesn't know how to play the right lineups. He can't get guys to defend. They're shooting today 4 for 19 from 3. That's just who this team is. We've seen enough evidence to know that they're just not a good shooting team. And when you're going up against teams like Alabama, who's going to shoot 43s a day, then you're not going to be able to beat those kind of teams. How often do we have to see this out of Mark Pope? $22 million, you might as well just lit it on fire with the roster that you put together this year. And if you're going to have JQ and if you're going to have Jalen Lowe on the floor, then you need to play him the proper amount of minutes. What are you saving him for? You might be saving him for the postseason. Well, guess what? You might be 500. You might be a 12 seed by the time that happens if you don't play the right guys. And then you're saving him for what? The NIT? And they're not going to play.
And that's the thing that kills me is that, like, if we knew how much Alabama, who has 2 first rounders, I mean, maybe 2 lottery picks, but certainly 2 first rounders, if we knew how much money they spent on their roster versus what we spent on our roster, we would be sick, Zach Cantrell. Like, we would physically get ill if we knew how much money Kentucky was wasting versus Alabama basketball, who has owned our ass now for many, many years, as long as Nate Oates has been there. And let's just forget about the head-to-head, which is just terrible. Alabama has gone to, 2 Sweet 16s, an Elite 8, and a Final Four in the last 4 years under Nate Oates.
Yep.
We would kill for that. And if we killed for that, we'd be like, that's still a little underachieving, right? No national championships, no title game appearances. We would say that that's a little bit underachieving for a 4-year stretch for UK, but we would do anything for that stretch of NCAA tournament success. And did Mitch Barnhart even call Nate Oates? Did he even reach out to the winningest SEC coach over the last 4 years? Nope. Didn't even get him a phone call. Did he call Bruce Pearl? And I know Bruce Pearl's retired and he's going to run for politics. And if anybody wants to talk Moderno or Venezuela, that sounds good to me on a day like today. However, did they call Bruce Pearl? No. They called, I'm using air quotes on the stream, they called Dan Hurley. They never called Dan Hurley. Dan Hurley was never going to be the coach at UK. That was never going to happen. And then they called Scott Drew. And that one actually progressed. And Mitch Barnhart blew the pitch. And maybe would UK basketball be significantly better with Scott Drew at the helm versus Mark Pope over these last year and a half? I don't know. I'd say probably, but there's no guarantee. You would have had DJ Edgecombe last year. That would have been fun. That would have been the best talent that Kentucky's had since JQ, for what it's worth. And he refuses to play JQ. But instead, Mitch Barnhart can't seal the deal on Scott Drew because he's not a good athletic director. And so he panics and he hires the first guy that's going to say yes, and it's Mark Pope. And granted, I like Mark Pope. Personally, how could you dislike him? It's not personal. How many times do we have to say it on the Bud Light UK postgame show? You can be the best dude in the world, but if you're not winning games, we're going to come on here and we're going to crush you, and we're not going to be happy about it because this is Kentucky basketball. There are standards to be held to. I understand the assignment. Mark Pope, the assignment is not to lose by 20 points every time you play a team with a pulse, dude. That's not the assignment. And I went out for the game and met up with a couple friends for the first half. And the place that I went, it's like a UK hotspot, and it was packed, and everybody was so excited. And time again, fans are showing up for games and leaving disappointed. And that's, dude, he'll get out of there quickly because of that. You just don't get UK fans. You just don't leave us disappointed as frequently as he's been doing and get away with it. Great dude. Seems like a great dad. Seems like a good person. Would love to have lunch with them. Not getting the job done as UK's basketball coach. Zach Cantrell, Kentucky is healthy. They are a healthy basketball team right now. So, a month ago, when you got blown out by 36 points to Gonzaga, you could say, all right, health is an issue, and you're trying to get people back, and you're figuring it all out. You've been healthy now for 2 weeks, 3 weeks. And I get it. Maybe not everybody's 100%, but they were good enough to beat IU. They were good enough to beat St. John's. You've had a long time since that Bellarmine game. Why did it regress, dude? Why does it keep looking bad when we think it should look better? Why are dudes not diving on the floor when there's a loose ball? Why is energy and effort and fight a question with UK basketball's $22 million roster? Dude, you can go pay people for zilch that are going to dive on the floor and get after the ball. It's just a joke. I mean, I know I'm being a little hyperbolic. Like, there's a lot of season left to go. Kentucky was still in this game for as bad as things were. Were they ever like a threat to win it? No, of course not. But you were like a stop and a 3 away from making Alabama a little tight. The talent is there. The coaching is not. It's not a great roster makeup, granted. And you saw that today. Alabama outscores Kentucky, from the 3-point line? It was 4-15. So 11 times 3, 33 points. You lose by 15, and you lose the 3-point battle by 33 points. That is bad roster construction. That is almost shooting yourself in the foot before you even go out there. All the same, Kentucky had chances. All the same, Kentucky outscored Alabama in the second half. And you weren't even in the game, Zach. Like, it is really bad, folks. There's going to be some good moments for UK basketball this year. I still think this team could make the Sweet 16. But this is an Alabama team that has NBA talent. This is a UK team that maybe has a little NBA talent, but it doesn't have the coaching to match. And I'm overall sick of it. Zach, I'm going to let you take it from here, but then loop Justin in for how people can participate in the show. And I know he's been talking to people in the comments, but I would say that this is probably the maddest I've been this season. You had momentum and you just squandered it instantly.
Yeah, this is demoralizing because of all the optimism that we all had and everybody had after the St. John's game, which was deserved because that was a physical win. It was a good defensive win against, Mark Pope's mentor and Rick Pitino. When you beat Indiana and you beat St. John's back-to-back, it looked like this team was starting to find itself a little bit. Health goes a long way, or it's supposed to go a long way. And tonight they significantly regressed. I mean, they hadn't played in almost 2 weeks. I don't know what Mark Pope was doing in those 2 weeks, just celebrating the new year. I don't know if it's, I'm just going to take my holidays and everything. The guys aren't going to practice. Well, they sure look like they didn't practice for a week and a half leading into this game. And again, it's the little things. It's not playing the right lineups. It's not substituting guys in properly. It's bad shot selection. You cannot win basketball games in 2025 going 4 for 19 from 3. You can't do it. You have to have 8, 9, 10 made threes a game just to give you a chance with the way basketball is being played. And Mark Pope failed to recognize that. And he overcompensated for last year when they couldn't defend anybody. By this year, he's going out and getting a bunch of guys who he hopes can defend. But the problem is they can't shoot. And so he just can't. His roster management's not good. His overall coaching from top to bottom, as far as, I don't know, he just doesn't seem to have these guys properly prepared to play. And that is a damning statement in and of itself. When, you come out and you're down 15, you're down 20. Like I mentioned, they played 7 marquee games this year and trailed by 20 in 4 of them. I mean,
St. John's lost to Providence.
Yeah, they just lost to Providence. Yeah, so that
they were up 25-8 in that game. St. John's is terrible. That's not like my camera's all messed up. That's a terrible loss for St. John's, but that actually hurts UK's resume. St. John's is not going to. They may not finish top 4 in the Big East, which is terrible this year. I mean, like UConn is
what's
really
your best
good,
win now? What are you hanging your hat on now? Indiana's barely an NIT team. They might make the NCAA tournament, but they're a football school now. St. John's, we don't know what they're going to do as far as they'll probably make the tournament, but they're not living up to anywhere close to what their preseason expectations were. So at this stage of the season, you're 9-5. What gives you any optimism that Kentucky is going to make a run? And I know talent-wise, we've talked about they have the possibility to make the Sweet 16 or whatever. At some point, you see it happen enough times that I don't believe this team can make the second weekend until I see more consistency, until I see, Oweh be a little bit more consistent, although he was solid today. JQ needs to play more. Diabate and Moreno Diabate needs to play more. He was barely a factor in this game. This should have been his homecoming game because he played at Alabama last year, and I bet he has regrets about leaving Tuscaloosa to come up to Kentucky the way that this thing's going right now. And the sad thing is we're not really going to learn much until the Tennessee game in a couple weeks because their next 3 are Missouri, Mississippi State, LSU. What are you really going to learn from those 3 games unless it's bad things? Unless you lose one of those games, even if you win the next 3, it doesn't really mean much. And so now we're going to go into another big game against Tennessee. You're going to go into big games against Arkansas and Vanderbilt. And there's going to be road games. I mean, 12, 13 losses is certainly not out of the equation, and we're getting very dangerously close to Billy Gillispie territory, where year 1 was solid, and then year 2 and year 3 went right off the cliff, and then you're hoping that John Calipari or whoever's the next Calipari comes in on the white horse and saves your program. This is bad right now, folks. 9-5 in January, this is not good enough, and this is supposed to be a game after you beat Indiana and you beat St. John's. This is a game to change how people felt about Kentucky basketball, and the optimism was there to a point that we hadn't really seen since, the Kentucky game, and that's all gone because losing's one thing. They weren't competitive in this game. They did not belong on the floor with Alabama. This wasn't they played a tight game and Alabama won because they hit one more 3. No. Alabama dominated. There was never a stretch, never a point in this game that I thought Kentucky was going to win. And that's not acceptable for a program that spent as much money as they did, a program that is one of the best programs in the history of college basketball, to be a point where they're probably going to be an afterthought again in the SEC regular season. This is not acceptable.
Yeah, it's embarrassing. I had Rabbit Finch tweet me and say, in their first 2 seasons as head basketball coach at UK, how many double-digit losses did these guys have? Pitino, 9 double-digit losses. Zach, do you know what he took over when he took over at UK? It wasn't the John Calipari era. I'll tell you that much. He was taking over a little bit more of a mess. He had 9 double-digit losses in his first 2 seasons. I'd go ahead and guarantee you he probably didn't have 9 more the rest of his time at UK. I can't say that definitively, but I would go ahead and guess it. Tubby Smith, who, very similar to Mark Pope, he took over Kentucky basketball in a pretty good spot. He had 3 double-digit losses in his first 10 seasons. And for what it's worth, I have not fact-checked this. This is coming straight from Rabbit on Twitter, and I'm just going to go ahead and assume he's telling me the truth. He seems like a straight shooter. I'm just going to roll with it. Billy Gillispie, 10 double-digit losses in 2 seasons. And, of course, we know that he only had 2 seasons. He didn't get a 3rd season. John Calipari, 1 double-digit loss in his first 2 seasons. And I'm trying to think of what it would have been. It obviously would have had to been in the Brandon Knight year. And they lost a ton of road games that year, but they were in all of them. And that's how you knew that team was kind of built for March, is because they were in those games. March comes around. It's neutral site environments, and they go to the Final Four for the first time in 13 years. John Calipari, 1 double-digit loss his first 2 years. Mark Pope, 10 double-digit losses, and he hasn't even completed his 2nd year. He's a year and a half in, and he's got as many as Billy Gillispie. And he ain't done yet, folks. He's not done yet. And I would say that the end of the Calipari era, Kentucky basketball was in a much better spot than the end of the Tubby era, but both were salvageable for sure. And at least for good measure, Billy G threw in an SEC co-coach of the year his first season. People forget that. This is bad. And it's not even just like, well, you had to create a whole new roster. You had the benefit of doing that. You had an advantage of 22. You had the advantage of more money than anybody else. Just have a guy that knows what's going to work and what doesn't work. And Pope is unfortunately not that guy. He's just not that guy. Justin, I have said it 30 times that I'm going to bring you in, and I keep not doing that. So I'm going to remedy this immediately. What's up, Justin? Happy New Year.
All right, I'm in. What's up, guys? I'm sorry. We're both suffering.
I'm so scared to say your last name. I'm going to just Sofaro. I know
that's
it's
perfect.
Not right.
You nailed it. Oh. Blankenbaker. I've known Blankenbaker for like 4 years now, and he still calls me Sofaro, Soforo. You nailed it. Justin Sofaro, what's up, guys? Anyway, I'm in here just to let you all know how you can be a part of the show. We've got one guy on hold, John, caller John, and whenever you're ready for him, we can get him in here. But basically, DM me on Twitter at Justin Sofaro. I'll put it up here in the scroll. You'll be able to see it, so that way you know how to spell it out and everything. But just at Justin Sofaro on Twitter, and I'll give you the call-in number, and we'll get you all in here, so that way you can just vent and get all those feelings and emotions that you have out. I'm a Louisville fan, I know, but we're all not doing good in the Bluegrass when it comes to basketball.
This is bad. This has been a bad week, man.
Yeah,
for all of us.
I had no fun.
That's one thing I do. It's your all show. So, like, you all want to vent as badly as I do. Zach, he is by association turning into a UK basketball fan. You've heard him vent today. It's therapeutic. It helps. And Zach, he texted me this. I'm so sorry for my voice. I think a cold is coming on. But I feel okay for the most part. But my voice, Monday's Kentucky roll call could be just a complete and total disaster with the way that this thing is trending. But Justin, that'd be great if we could throw it over to John and see what he has to say.
All right, I'll go ahead and pot him in for you guys. John, you're up.
How's it going? TJ, up, Zach, man? Thank you, Justin. Man, hey, do you real quick? Do you think 13? No, actually 11 losses. Are we still going to be in a big dance? I looked down at the schedule just now, just kind of like randomly saying, oh, we might win this, we might win that. And I came up with like 6 more losses. And that might be generous. But what do you guys think? If we did have that many losses, we should still be in with 11, right?
Yeah, with 11 losses, Kentucky would be in the tournament. If they went on Selection Sunday, and I guess at that point, you'd be like 22-11 or something like that, or 23-11. Yes, you would certainly get in the tournament with that record. I'm not worried about UK not getting in the tournament. And like that, like the fact that we're having that conversation, we're missing the mark already. Like, we've already messed up. Things aren't good if that's the conversation that we're having. However, Kentucky doesn't have a bad loss for what it's, losing by 1 million to Gonzaga is certainly a bad loss, but from a resume standpoint, the resume is still decent. Again, St. John's, that's not good what happened today there. But I'm not worried about them getting in the tournament. But who cares? Like, if you get in at a 7 seed, that's a failure. At 8 seed, 9 seed, 6 seed, 5 seed.
With the preseason expectations, this is supposed to be a team that was a top 3 or 4 seed. They were a 3 seed with 11 losses last year. So 11 losses will get them in the tournament, and because they're probably going to stumble on their way to a couple of ranked wins because the SEC just gives you that many opportunities. But what confidence would you have that this team's going to do anything in the tournament? And that's not the standard at Kentucky. That is like the below bare minimum, is to make the NCAA tournament. The bare minimum should be to be a top 5 or 6 seed every year. That making the NCAA tournament is a thing that the coaches want to expand the thing. Why? Because they want to go to their athletic directors at the end of the year and say, you know what? I made the tournament this many times. When it's not that difficult to do anymore. And Mark Pope's resume saying, oh, I made the tournament 2 straight years. I made the Sweet 16, and then I got bounced in the first round this year. That's not good. That's not success. So, they'll make the tournament, but, okay. That doesn't move the needle.
Yeah, it's all around bad. Go ahead, John.
Yeah, I was going to say, I agree with those sentiments there. Looking at it, man, they were hitting Alabama was hitting some threes. Yes, Chandler, even Ortega, JQ had a pump fake put on him, blow right by for some type of reverse or dunk or something. A lot of people were getting beat off the dribble and also just off the jump shot period. They weren't getting up on the belly-to-belly area and really putting that hand in that face like they should. But there was one, I think, Kentucky may have had it down to 9 at one point, or maybe even like it was like 12 or 13. Like it climbed back up to 13 or something. But they were trying to make a little run, and I think it's Holloway was just out there, and his feet were literally on the logo. And Ortega puts a hand up barely, but it still don't matter. That dude was out to, 3 different oceans and back and hit that shot. There's sometimes when you watch a game, you're just like, man, these guys are they come off a ball screen, hit it. They go real far out and hit them. And our guys need to, recover better. They need to get out there. They should already have been out there anyways, hugging someone's shorts. If you got to foul out of the game to stop them from scoring, 2 free throws are better than giving up all these 3s that they gave up where they were just popping in. I think that was something that I just kept looking at. It was one of those games where I just kind of felt like you guys, I didn't think that the Cats had a chance really to win. It didn't feel like it today. I don't know how much this means for the rest of the year. One side thing, TJ, guess what? On New Year's Eve, I got an email that someone put an offer on one of my listings, and then we negotiated the next day on New Year's Day. So this is the first time, Mr. Walker, that actually it's been approved, the sell. So it may just go through. So started off the new year with a bang there. I guess that's the only positive thing I have. Sorry, guys, it's not basketball related, but I just wanted to share that with TJ because we're in the same kind of business area. But that's all I got for you guys.
That's awesome, John. I actually heard you mention that on Just the Cats or one of the other shows. But congrats, buddy. That's awesome. You dress up as an elf and you do a showing, and look at you. You're selling houses now. So that's if you're in the Evansville market and you're looking to sell your house.
Here's the thing. I deserve to get crushed when that stuff happens real quick. John, give me some notice that you're gonna bail out, just so I can pot you down real quick. Just real quick, so we don't get the beeps, because I curse Zach for it every time he used to do it. Now, that's what happens to me.
Good to know. Justin, let us know if we have anybody else that's popping in. I know they need to DM you on social media. If they do that, they can get on the stream. But otherwise, it's going to be Zach and I venting. I just have such a major issue with 24 of UK's 59, excuse me. So 24 of 59, just a little shy of half. What are we at? Like 43, 45%, somewhere in that ballpark, coming from the bench. Why are half of your shots coming from bench players? That is just basketball 101.
Because their best players are on the bench. That's why. Because Cam Williams and Jalen Lowe should be starters, and their best players are coming off the bench. That skews the numbers a little bit. And again,
we got Luther.
Start your best players. Let's go.
I don't understand it. Luther, welcome on in. Happy New Year. Happy Saturday. Better days ahead for UK basketball, hopefully.
What the hell are we watching? The bum is a bum. He shouldn't be here. This is 2 bum hires in basketball that Barnhart has laid on us, and this is some bullshit. And I know I can freely talk today, and I'm happy to do it, but this is some bullshit, and I'm sick of it. You're sick of it. Zach's sick of it. Every Kentucky fan is sick of this. Every single game we got to watch this slop. That we're down double digits at halftime. Then we got to continue watching the slop all through the second half while that moron sits over there. Now he wants to wear a suit because he thinks that's good luck. Give me a break on that bullshit. That's like turning a hat backwards and saying, let's go. And no offense to you. And then on top of that, he's sitting there making those bullshit, disgusting faces, all confused like he's playing D&D on a Saturday night back in high school. I mean, give me a break, man. I'm sick of this shit. Every player, every fan is sick of this shit. And this is some little, man. I mean, this has got to change. And Barnhart has got to listen to the people. The man that should be walking our sidelines has whipped our ass 4 straight games in a row. Offer that man what the damn Fort Knox gold currency to get that man here, because this is some bullshit that we shouldn't have to be living through. It's bad enough that Cal set us on this trajectory back in 19 and on, and I'm sick of it. It's got to change. And when the people start wearing paper bags on their heads, that's when I guess Barnhart will do enough to let it change. Late.
Luther, we appreciate you calling in, and the sentiment is well received. We're not happy either with what has happened to Kentucky basketball. And this quote jumped out to me. Mark Pope on considering starting lineup changes to counter slow starts. It's interesting because our first 2 or 3 minutes were solid, and then we hit a wall for sure. We're considering that all the time. Okay, so UK had 5 points in 55 seconds. So they started the game 5 points within the first minute. They went over 4 minutes and like 15 seconds without scoring another point. And what universe would that be considered a good start? And by the time you already did score another point, you were down. You were losing. So whatever good start you thought, you scored 2 field goals in 56 seconds. You didn't score again for an additional 4+ minutes. And then you were also trailing. So where was the good start? I mean, a good first 56 seconds, sure. Colin Chandler actually looked like he belonged on the court for a split second. That was cool seeing him hit a 3. But I really worry there could be just a disconnect on like, do you get it or do you not get it? Are you with it or are you not with it? Because he normally says the right things. But Zach, he ain't saying the right things lately either.
No, he's not, and I wish we had some audio of it because I'd like to hear how mopey he is because typically, you know how Mark Pope is. Every time his team loses, and especially when they get blown out like this, he sounds like his dog died. I mean, but he's not saying the right stuff, and, oh, that's interesting. No, you know who's getting paid a bleak ton of money to make these decisions and to make adjustments? That's you, Mark Pope. You're the guy who decides everything. You're the guy who decides lineups, and if Jaden Quaintance and Jalen Lowe have told you that they're healthy and, we're holding out Jalen Lowe to make sure that he's healthy, well, and he could get healthy or get hurt on any play, well, guess what? So could everybody else. I mean, we're all day-to-day in this business. So there's no sense in just limiting him because you're worried about him getting hurt. I mean, Jalen Lowe is a volume shooter, yes, and he's not necessarily a distributor, but he's a guy that can at least get you going offensively. The only time they showed a spark in this game is when he was out there because at least he's a guard that will step up, and if he's left open, he'll shoot the ball. So you got to have the right people in there. You can't have 3 of your guys be offensive weapons and 2 of them not be. I don't know what his loyalty is to Brandon Garrison, but it's got to stop. Put Diabate out there because at least he showed a spark a couple weeks ago against Indiana. He was the guy that got the double-double that can't help them come back in the second half. Quaintance obviously showed a spark against St. John's. Why are you going back to the guys that didn't look like they belonged on the floor against Gonzaga, couldn't finish against North Carolina? And why is there every single game offensive droughts? There's 3 or 4 minute droughts with this team. There's 27-11 runs, as you talked about with Alabama earlier. There's always at least one double-digit run, and it's because they're just not consistent enough offensively, and this cannot continue to happen. But Mark Pope isn't making any changes. I mean, you're either coaching it or you're allowing it. I don't know what it is right now, but it's the same story over and over again. It's one thing if you go lose a tight game in Alabama because you know what? That's a good team. Alabama is going to be a contender again in the SEC. You lose by a bucket or you lose a competitive game. All right, that's fine. But you look like you're outclassed by Alabama. And it's happened 4 straight times. And I know one of them was Cal, but all 3 times Pope has coached against them, not competitive. It's just...
that's 4 times for Pope. I mean, that's 4 losses for Pope, and
that's right.
3 of them not competitive. But he beat that booty in Rupp Arena last year too. That one was at least respectable, where Kentucky kind of had a chance or and whatnot. But no, that's 0-4 against Nate Oates for Mark Pope since he's been the coach at UK, and 3 of them did not compete, did just not show up, and that's not acceptable. We have gone over 4 digits in our streaming numbers. We appreciate that. Justin, if anybody else reaches out to you to get on the show, I'd love to hear from them. It's your Bud Light UK postgame show with Zach Cantrell and TJ Walker here on ESPN 680.
Yeah, I do want to say real quick
that
those numbers are actually better than that because not that I need to interrupt your show for it, but most people are actually on YouTube, and YouTube doesn't display it in here the same way that like Twitter does. So we actually have a lot more people, and shout out to everybody that's tuning in. Appreciate the support, especially on YouTube. Like and subscribe.
Like and subscribe. I'm not a numbers guy, but do appreciate people that want to spend their Saturday afternoon with us. And we got 2 more months of this, Zach Cantrell. And listen, there will be good moments. And I think the schedule gets a little easier for UK. And I'm happy about that. I just want to see wins. I've faced so much UK athletics losing as of late. I don't care if they beat up on a dog shit SEC team by 40 points. I need that for my soul at this moment in my life. Zach, we were doing a year in reflection on radio like every dumb radio show does. What was your favorite sports moment? I think I know what yours probably was. Unfortunately for me, I had to go with the round of 32 Illinois win. UK's round of 32 Illinois win was my best sports moment in 2025. Do you know how embarrassing that is? Maybe it was St. X basketball winning the 7th region for the first time in 33 years or something like that. But then they prompted to just blow it in the state tournament. So I don't know. I didn't go with St. X. UK football, they were bums. The Batcats had a decent season, but unfortunately your rival did better than you. So it was like, what? And the Packers still have Matt LaFleur, so it's still Matt LaFleur's Green Bay Packers for me, unfortunately. I was like, what was my best sports moment? And it was a round of 32 win. We really are turning into IU right before our eyes, dude. It was a round of 32 win, and that was great. I really enjoyed that. It felt like for a brief moment Kentucky basketball was back, but is that our peak? Is that our ceiling? That Mark Pope was able to beat Illinois, and that's going to be the highlight of his time at UK? They're going to start winning some games. I think this team has talent, but that makes it all more concerning to me that I think they have talent and that I think this can be okay, assuming they stay healthy. I just don't trust Pope. And if somebody has any reason, any evidence at all to trust Pope, to say, hey, TJ, I know they've been blown out in big games all year this year. I know you're frustrated, but don't overreact. It will be okay. Give him a little bit of time. If anybody's got a good reason for why I should subscribe to that notion, I'd love to hear it. And that's one other thing, Zach, is that if Mark Pope was the coach at UK for 10 years, do I think he'd get to a Final Four? I sure as shit hope so. I think he probably would if you gave him enough chances at it. But I can't take more national embarrassment in big games against ranked teams. I don't want to roll the dice to figure out that if in time Pope can succeed here, I have to take a dozen more losses to teams that I consider Kentucky to be a better program than. But I'm sorry, folks. Over the last 4 years, Alabama basketball is a better program than we are. And we just have to call a spade a spade. They don't have as much money. They don't have the same recruiting pull that UK should have. Yet they get better players. Yet they win more games. What are we doing? And I just can't stress enough. This is Mitch Barnhart's UK athletics. What our best moment was a round of 32 Illinois win. That is what Mitch Barnhart has done to this athletic program. Zach, look what Miami Athletics is doing. Florida, that is. I don't know what the Red Hawks are up to or not.
Hey, the Red Hawks are undefeated.
You can pick a random Power 5 athletic program, and I guarantee you in one of the big 3 sports, they probably have more success somewhere along the way than Kentucky does. But I'll guarantee you this, there's probably not 15, certainly not 20, maybe not 10. But if you're talking about basketball, football, all of it combined with nil donations, Kentucky should be having a lot more success than what we're seeing. And I'm 30 years old. All I've known in UK, I'm 34 years old. It'd be nice if I was 30. But Mitch Barnhart has been at UK the entirety of my adult life or just my fandom life. I'm so ready to see what else is out there. I would love nothing more for Mitch in March to be like, all right, I'm hanging it up, everybody. I'm going to unbutton this top button and I'm going to go off into the sunset. And then the next guy comes in and he's just like, Will Wade, come on in. I'm getting the biggest bad boy in college basketball. Screw it. We're going to get back to winning. We're not going to do gee golly, I'm going to say all the right things and blah, 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 blah. I just want to win games, dude. I'm so sick of UK basketball losing games. So Mitch, he's responsible for a lot of this. And unfortunately, I just don't think Mark Pope has the chops, but we shall see. A lot of season left to go, Zach Cantrell.
Yeah, there's no reason to think that it's going to change. Does he understand the assignment? So far, that hasn't happened. And the sad thing is, when John Calipari Kentucky teams would lose in years past, it was national headlines. It was a big deal because John Calipari didn't lose a ton of games at Kentucky. And that's what they're at risk of losing right now is when they lose games, it's Kentucky lost. Okay. And then they just talk about like Duke losing is still a huge national headline to people. Kentucky's not even at that status anymore because we just come to accept mediocrity. I thought you might pick, Mark Stoops crying after they beat Auburn as your favorite sports moment of the year, but I understand why you went with round of 32.
Oh yeah, you know what? I should have said the.
How'd you not go with Stoops?
I should have said the Mitch Barnhart, Mark Stoops makeout at midfield.
Oh,
they just
the beautiful
each other like there was no tomorrow. That was disgusting. Did you see the Scott Van Pelt New Year's Eve clip when he was disgusted by people kissing? That's how I felt just seeing Mitch Barnhart and Mark Stoops playing a little tonsil hockey. Did you say it was a little annoying, Justin? You were with Scott Van Pelt?
Oh. I don't know what you're talking about. I didn't see it. We got Bug on the line if you want to take his calls.
I thought you said you were annoyed seeing people kiss on New Year's Eve. Okay, Bug, what's up, Bug? This is the show for you today. Happy Saturday.
Hey, what's going on, guys? Happy New Year's.
Same to you, Bug.
Yeah. So I'm, as a Kentucky fan, tired of being in basketball season saying, man, I can't wait till football season. And then football year, and it's a disappointment. And be like, man, I cannot wait till basketball season. Year in, year out. It's been like that for, past 5 years?
And Bug, I'll just throw in real quick. I want to let you go and you rant for as long as you need to rant. But I will say, this basketball disappointing season is probably great news for Will Stein for what it's worth in his first year, just to have people be like, man, screw this. I just want football. It's new. It's fun. It's exciting. Let's give Will Stein as much nil money as possible for year one. And let's just roll with that. Now, again, there's going to be some good moments with this basketball team. They'll win games. It will get better. But they'll probably also lose by double digits several more times, which is embarrassing and not okay. But I will say that Will Stein's probably a benefactor of the basketball team's disappointing season because you're going to have people say, all right, well, I'll just give it to the football side of things instead of letting old Dopey Popies waste another $22 million.
No, I agree with that, and especially if he gets these transfers that we've been talking about for the past 2 years. If we can do that, then I mean we're looking pretty sweet just to start off his recruiting cycle. And for the most part, I agree with most of what you all said. The one thing I don't agree with, I don't know if we can make the tournament. I know Zach, but man, I just don't know if we're there right now.
If they go 500 in the SEC, they'll make the tournament. And again, it doesn't matter. I mean, at that point, miss the tournament for all I give a shit. Like, I don't care. This has all been disappointing to me. I just need to remind people how bad the bubble is at the bottom every single year, to the point where I'm not saying the St. John's or Indiana wins are going to carry the day, but you could look at UK on Selection Sunday and you throw in a couple home SEC wins and you throw in St. John's and IU, where you could have, that's going to be better than Georgia Tech's resume on Selection Sunday. Just for what it's worth, UK doesn't have any bad losses. I've been incredibly disappointed with the year, but they will make the tournament. Once they start losing home games to shitty teams, then we'll need to be concerned.
Yeah, and I think we will pull out, some games that we might not shouldn't. Like Cam Williams hitting 8 threes last. Those are going to be in and out, and I think we will pull some of the games out with that kind of stuff. But man, our shooting is just terrible. How many balls did we leave short at the rim in the first half? There was like a 5-minute stretch there.
Yeah, hit off the backboard and then just hit the rim and just popped right out. I was like, how did those shots not go in? I thought Kentucky did some decent things when they had momentum or they were able to kind of get in a rhythm of the tone of the game. But they just don't pass the ball. Even when UK was clicking today, it wasn't off assisted plays. And Jalen Lowe is really good, and he does change things for UK to a certain extent. But does Denzel Aberdeen know how to pass the ball? Does he know like what it is? There's two things. Either he just kind of got away playing on an amazing team at Florida, or he looks at the rest of this UK roster and he's like, I don't trust you all. I don't trust to give the ball up to you all. I know what winning basketball looks like, and it ain't giving it up to you all. But there's a major disconnect there, and I like Denzel Aberdeen. I think he's going to be an important piece if this team ever figures it out. But he refuses to pass the ball. Of course, I'm going to say that, and he's going to have like 4 assists, just the one, but I'm shocked that he even had the one. UK as a team, 9 assist bug. 9 assists on 25 made baskets. That's horrible. Horrible.
How many turnovers?
12.
Yeah. It's terrible. Terrible. Well, we play Wednesday, right?
Yes, Wednesday is at Missouri at home.
Yes.
Yeah. Well,
okay.
hopefully my call in on Wednesday will be a lot better than this one.
Zach, are we going to be back on 680 on Wednesday for Pete's sake?
I believe we are. Yes, I do not think.
I think you guys are on like for the next like month or so. You're good. You won't have to deal with me for a while.
I was going to say, Diener's probably listening, and he's like, if you're going to talk any more shit, your ass is going to be off forever, buddy, all right? You ain't going back on 680. How about that? But,
yeah, Bellarmine plays Thursday, so we're good to go.
Okay. Well, I may be
all right. Well, y'all have a good couple days, and I'll holler at y'all on Wednesday.
That sounds great. We'll be back on. We'll have the normal phone lines and all that fun stuff. But very appreciative that we at least have this outlet to be able to talk about miserable UK basketball. Justin, if we have anybody else, let me know. And otherwise, Zach, maybe we get into the superlatives unless you've got anything else. I mean, how many more terrible things can we say about this game, right? I think we've hit them all.
I think we have to. Yeah, there's not really much more to get into as far as just the awful, no good, all those descriptions to describe this game. I mean, at least they fast break pointed them 14-4. Congratulations, Mark Pope. Yeah, at least won one category. So, good for you. I mean, the rebounding, I guess they were competitive or whatnot. But, so they did so now on the ESPN box score, they do a time percent led in games. Kentucky led 3% of the game, which is 3% higher than I expected it to be. But, I mean, yeah, this is just an abysmal performance all the way around. There's not really much else to add to it. So the three-point shooting, again, just pitiful. The turnover to assist ratio, pitiful. Let's go to the superlative, shall we?
Real quick, before you go to the superlatives, shout out producer, really just Jason N's too lazy to call it himself, asked me to do a couple things to run by you. First off, he wanted me to point out that TJ has cursed more in 10 minutes than Mark Pope has with his team in a season and a half. So there's that.
Facts.
And they said to ask you, TJ, if he's worried that they've gotten blitzed in both of their true road games and not showed up in either one in terms of energy.
Well, first and foremost, I'm not like a big cusser. It's got to just fit organically. I'm not just going to throw like a ass out there just to say ass. But that being said, I'm pretty fired up today. That was embarrassing. And I felt terrible. I go to this local establishment. The place is packed with Cats fans here in the heart of Louisville. And the first 5 minutes, everybody's mostly checked out. Like we tried to create a little juice there. The other true road game was Louisville. And yeah, that's a mark of the team following the coach, right? And do you remember that moment in the game today where I think Kentucky cut it to 10, and then Alabama promptly scored like 5 straight points, and it was about 12 minutes to go in the game, 8 minutes to go in the game. I could be wrong at the exact moment of where it was. And Nate Oates just starts firing up the crowd. And it seemed a little out of place because, dude, you've been in control this entire game. What are you doing? Your team's fine. You're going to win this game. Why are you just freaking out? Because he thought his team needed a little juice. He knew, this was the crunch time. And if I can get everybody in this entire gymnasium pumped up for the final 12 or 8 minutes or whatever it was, we probably only need about another 4 minutes of just keeping pace, and we'll win this game. So let me do what I can as the head coach. What does Mark Pope do? And that's not saying I want him to go fire up the crowd or do any. Does he even fire up his own players? Does he make his
Obviously
players?
not.
I don't think he does.
When's the last time we saw this team play with fire and brimstone? When's the last time we saw energy out of them? Yeah, good. That's a good point by you. Nate Oates does this on a regular basis. It's not always about, when we're losing, when we need to come back. That's when we try to fire everybody up. No, you got to recognize the time at hand. You got to recognize when your team needs juice. maybe Mark Pope could learn a few things out of that. Or he's just going to say, oh, something happened in the pregame before Alabama, like something happened before Louisville. Like, just spill the beans.
I'm glad you brought that up, too. People forget about that. That, they came out with not the right juice or the right mindset against Louisville. And then if you knew the story about the pregame, we'll tell it someday. But
tell it now.
Story? What story about the pregame? No, that was overblown. There was nothing about that. He's also been a disaster talking about this team. And it seems like the dude just doesn't have a clue. So he failed on roster construction. The team has not gelled or connected. Injuries, which you can't control, but you can control your backups. They don't have a backup point guard. The team is constantly getting out-hustled, outworked, out-muscled, all of it. And then he'll go do a press conference and you'll hear him and you'll say, oh no, he sounds clueless. This isn't good. All right, your Twin Peaks player of the game, that is something that's good. Twin Peaks, eat, drinks, and most importantly, the scenic views. I'm going to go Jalen Lowe. I thought Otega-Oweh was good. If UK was going to have any chance at coming back in this game, one of his several dunks I thought were good moments to kind of wake everybody up. Otega-Oweh also had 8 rebounds, but the offense just doesn't go without Jalen Lowe. It just doesn't. And I think the more you play him and the healthier he gets, I think at any moment he could just get hurt again. But he just is a game changer for UK's offense. Nobody really has to worry about one-on-one defense when you're guarding a Kentucky Wildcat this year. And that's embarrassing, and that's terrible, and that shouldn't be the case. But Jalen Lowe is the exception there. He can get by pretty much anybody else that a team's going to throw at him, and then he will make other defenders that have to step up, help down, collapse in, and what does that do for his teammates? They're wide open. So while Otega-Oweh was great today, and he was UK's leading scorer with 22 points, Jalen Lowe just makes everybody else better. He's great himself, obviously, but he makes his teammates a little bit better as well. He wasn't great in the plus-minus. He's not a great defender, but Jalen Lowe is my Twin Peaks player of the game.
I'm going to give it to Otega, but I agree with you as far as Jalen Lowe. That should be like putting it on a T-shirt somewhere. If the offense doesn't go without Jalen Lowe. I mean, that's a pretty good bar out of you. But Jalen Lowe, or Otega-Oweh, rather, 8 of 16 in this game, 22 points, 8 rebounds. I thought he was the best player on the floor tonight. And we're starting to see Otega start to return a little bit to the form that he had last year. But we're starting to find out that he should not probably be your number one offensive weapon on a team that's expected to be a contender. I didn't see a ton out of Quaintance tonight. Again, only 24 minutes he played. He needs to play a little bit more and be more of an impact kind of guy. But I'm going to give it to Otega today. I think he was the best player. So Jalen Lowe's the only other guy, but I'll go Oweh just so we don't share that.
It's a 2-horse race. You're exactly right. And again, 8 rebounds and 3 assists for Otega. He probably should get it. It's just, I saw what the team looked like when Jalen Lowe wasn't in the game, and I liked it a little bit better when he was in the game. But Otega was good. You can't go wrong with that. And then as a matter of fact, on the stream, we have Josh say, Lowe had 2 assists and 3 turnovers. What is Lowe providing other than shots? Well, again, he makes his teammates better. He's a threat to pass in any situation, which helps him score. And tonight he took advantage of the scoring, of course, with the 21 points. But yeah, the 2 assists, you normally would like that number to be a little bit more. However, it probably could have been a little bit more, but who was making Jack Diddley today for UK? So I think Jalen Lowe said, I ain't passing it to you bums. I'm going to do this myself, which is an issue, of course, but Jalen Lowe and Otega-Oweh were not the issue. They were not the issue tonight. More of that type of play, I think, would have been better for the Cats.
You don't want two guys scoring 43 out of 74 points. That's a problem.
Yeah. I mean, especially when you only make 4 threes and only have 9 assists. That kind of just goes to show that the offense wasn't working when you throw all that stuff together. Lanning's points in the paint stats. Kentucky was good in the paint. Zach, does it really matter, I guess, at the end of the day when you get beaten so badly, you're not overly competitive in that game. But Kentucky did have their moments in the paint. They outscored Alabama 36-32 in the paint. Of course, NATO teams, they don't shoot mid-range jumpers. It's either a three-pointer or it's nothing but the paint. And unfortunately, I think the fact that UK outscored Alabama in the interior kind of goes to show that Alabama must have had a pretty good night from outside, and they most certainly did. 45 points from deep. So there you have it. 45 from behind the arc, and then the points in the paint for Alabama was 32. 45 plus 32. What's that, 77?
77.
They have 12 free throws. They most certainly did. So there's how all your points get accounted for. But that's Nate Oates' offense. And guess what it does? It works. And guess what?
Yeah.
He doesn't have the players that some of these other teams have, yet he's been to 2 Sweet 16s, an Elite 8, and a Final Four. And make no mistake, they've got plenty of talent. That's also part of the issue. Why is all this great talent going to Alabama and not Kentucky? But regardless, Kentucky did win the points in the paint. So there you go, Mark Pope. You did it, buddy.
Because it's a fun offense to play in with Alabama, so you can understand why the guards would obviously want to go there. But the fact that they only won the paint battle by 4, I think is concerning. They should be winning the points in the paint against Alabama, because that's not a team that emphasizes paint play. They don't emphasize big men. So that's an area, if you're Kentucky, you need to dominate. You need to win that by 15, 20 points to offset for the fact that they're going to beat you from the 3-point line. So only winning that by 4 kind of tells you how the day went.
No doubt about it. KPG Glass, who hit the glass, rebounding stats in tonight's game. Man, Kentucky was just getting absolutely crushed for a pretty good while. However, they turned it around. Things got a little bit better for the Cats, and they lose the rebounding battle. A respectable 41-37 on the glass. Alabama did win the rebounding battle. But at halftime, I think there was one moment where it was like 15-4 or something like that, where a couple Alabama players had more rebounds than Kentucky did in the first half. But UK did at least improve in that area, but they lose the rebounding battle all the same from our friends at KPG Glass. Barnes Auto Service, basketball fixes, things that you want to see fixed, reliable repairs, bumper to bumper. Go to barnesautoservice.com. Ooh, Zach, we could be smart here, couldn't we?
Can we just say, I don't know, everything? As far as improvement, 3-point, we are going to beat ourselves to death with 3-point shooting and free throw shooting and, assists, because this has just been
we can't win.
Recurring problem. No, they cannot. It's just been the same recurring issues over and over again. The rebounding, you'd like to be better. But the number one thing I want to see that gets better, play the right people, come out and not be down 15 in the first half, because you're not going to win a lot of basketball games if you're down 15 in the first half. You're down near 20 at halftime. Play the right people, get off to better starts, and then you actually have a chance to make adjustments at halftime and figure out who the hot hand is. But you can't bury yourself in a hole. It's the same thing we talked about with Calipari in his last year with not playing Dillingham and Shepard to start off the game, which – okay, theoretically, they played 32 minutes, 33 minutes, whatever the case was, but they were often down by 10 points in the first half, so they couldn't rally back. So, Mark Pope, not that difficult. Jaden Quaintance, Jalen Lowe, Cam Williams, put them all in your starting lineup and go from there.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more, Zach. That's exactly control the things that you can control. And if this team just doesn't have the makeup of a good outside shooting team, that's an issue, and that's something we need to talk about in the offseason. But that ain't change. You just can't snap your fingers and have that change. And Zach, how many weeks now have I been saying that this team is going to probably hit 3 to 6 threes per game? They will have probably a random game where that number is 8 or 9. They'll probably win that game, and that'll be a lot of fun. But night in and night out, it's just going to be like a 4 3-point game for UK. That's not going to change. I can't sit here and tell you that my Barnes auto fix is make more 3-pointers. That would be great, but that's not what this team can do. What they can do is play hard. Dude, that is stuff you learn in 7th or 8th grade. Alabama was diving on the floor. They were doing the small things that win basketball games, and Kentucky was sitting around with their putt in their hand, and that's just not okay for Kentucky basketball. So you need to fight, and you need to play hard. Another thing that you can control, and Zach said it better than I could summarize, play the best players, dude. Right off the jump. And maybe, just maybe, you'll find yourself up 12-4 at the under 16 timeout. All right, well, then you got to bring some other people in. People need a break, whatever. Your second stretch, it didn't go as well. You could still be winning potentially. Instead, he just does these weird roster lineups for Kentucky now in every big game. They're down at the half, In the St. John's and IU game being down 7, those first halves were miserable. They were terrible. And for a brief second when Kentucky was down, 13, and then Alabama came back and hit a 3 or whatever it was right before the buzzer, it felt like 13 could be doable. It felt like you'd have a chance there, but they hit that 3 and they go up 16 at half. Control the things you can control. Play the best players and make sure the people that are playing hard. What are we doing here? That seems like a no-brainer to me. Those are my Barnes Auto Service basketball fixes. And for the first time this season, Zach Cantrell, and we're not going to like the results of it, unfortunately, but we have our SEC conference standings delivered by Louisville Ladder, built to be above, but there's nothing above this update. This is going to hit pretty close to home to the UK football SEC conference standings.
Yeah, well, we did this all season in football as far as the conference standings. We had to do a little bit of scrolling to look down at Kentucky, and we're doing that again now because there's no other SEC conference games that are complete. So as of right now, stop the count, Alabama. You are officially a basketball school, 1-0 to start SEC play. And Kentucky is 16th at 0-1. The more things change, the more they stay the same.
Yeah, fun day of
I know
SEC
people will want us to be down because we lost, but at the end of the day, I saw 5 guys on the court, whichever 5, fighting with everything they had to win a game.
I don't think they even fought.
Dude, that is Kenny Payne, and he just was chock full of really dumb quotes because I don't think he was the smartest dude in the world. Here is this is from my buddy Ryan Black on Postgame Radio. Tom Leach asked Mark Pope what he told the team in the locker room afterwards. We talked about a lot of things. Super insightful, Mark. We love that. Leach follows up.
Good.
Leach follows up and says, how are things going to be different on Wednesday? Pope says, it's a long list. There's a lot of things that need to be different on Wednesday. Okay, well, I feel better now. What about you all? Everybody back on board?
And then he said, what are specific things to take away? Not a lot from this game. We need to play harder. Thank you, Mark. Thank you.
What are we doing? I mean, just what are we doing as the winningest program in all of college basketball? And I was not happy with the guys. Again, I'm not going to try to get too picky about post-game quotes. I tried not to do that with Calipari, but there would be an instance where Pope could make us feel better. And time again in these press conferences, he's making you feel significantly worse.
Okay, did you see, by the way, so he did the press conference and he did the post-game radio hit. Do you want to – I don't know if you saw how many combined minutes those were.
6?
9.
No, oh, nice. Okay. Well,
9 whole minutes. Big deal.
9 whole minutes, and I would imagine I'll get into this on another day, but anytime UK Sports Network does a radio view with the head coach, they make it as unlistenable as possible. You'll get Tom Leach being like, all right, and we're back here with Mark Pope. Hey, Pope, once again, team didn't look good. They weren't prepared. Something you're probably trying to get fixed, right? And we'll get back to Mark Pope's answer here on the UK Sports Network postgame show after these commercial break. And you get a commercial every 6 seconds because that's just what they do. But 9 minutes, that's not good. That's just like the team today, not good either.
For a guy who's a good communicator, he sure doesn't like to talk after he loses.
Yeah. Well, at least we've got a ton of 5-star players coming in next year, Zach Cantrell. At least the recruiting class is really strong.
Oh yeah.
Wait a minute.
Oh.
I'm being told there are no recruits, that he hasn't signed a single player. Is that true? Oh, my heavens.
I'm not going to let you blame me.
Kenny Payne was so great.
See,
Justin, shame on you all for running him out of town.
You know what the sad thing is? Mark Pope isn't even going to give us any notable quotes that we can use all these years later. Like, Kenny Payne at least gave us that. Couldn't coach basketball. Neither can Mark Pope. But at least Kenny Payne could be a stand-up comedian.
It wasn't funny at all when it was happening, but my God, I miss it now. Now I wish he was like an assistant or something that he regularly had to talk because the quotes are so good.
If I ever win, if I was Elon Musk or if I ever won the lottery, I would make him just U of L's basketball media liaison. He just has to answer every press conference. He's got to do the pregame, all that sort of stuff. It'd be great. He's super insightful and a fun quote at that. UPS Jobs Top 25 Scoreboard. You can join the shift at UPS Jobs. Apply today. UPSjobs.com/worldport. And not we're still getting started in the day, Zach, but it just already feels like an off day with UK getting blasted. And we're going to get you a John Calipari update and some other games going on here in the SEC and in the top 25.
Yeah, it's a decent slate today. So other than the Kentucky-Alabama game, 2 top 25 games are complete. Number 15, Texas Tech beats Oklahoma State 102-80. So at least one team for Texas Tech is able to score this week. Number 21, Virginia beats NC State 76-61 in the ACC opener, which tipped off at 11 a.m. for reasons. So games that are going on right now, number 10, BYU leads Kansas State 70-58. Number 23, Georgia and Auburn have just started overtime, 94-94 apiece down in Athens. Cincinnati leads number 8, Houston, at the half, 33-28. So a big opportunity for the Bearcats potentially to get a signature win. Vanderbilt still undefeated, might remain that way. They lead South Carolina 60-45 on the road down in Columbia. Number 17, Kansas, struggling with UCF. They trail at 52-48 with 14 and a half minutes to go in that game down in Orlando. SMU and North Carolina tied at 39. They've just started the second half on the CW. Number 18, Arkansas leads number 19, Tennessee 11-9. So Kenny Payne and John Calipari working fools at least early on in the season. Number 6, Duke will travel to Florida State to take on the Seminoles at 3:45. Number 1, Arizona hits the road to take on Utah. That'll be a 4 o'clock game. Number 23, Iowa versus UCLA at 6 o'clock, because when you think Big Ten hoops, you think Iowa against UCLA. Number 20, Illinois goes to Penn State to take on the Nittany Lions later in the evening at 7 o'clock. Number 5, Purdue goes to Wisconsin. Should be a good test for the Boilermakers up in Madison. Number 22, Florida will take on Missouri. That'll be 8:30 on the SEC Network. And that is your UPS Jobs Top 25 scoreboard.
They fought their balls off. I hate to say it like that. Excuse me.
All right, I was trying to unmute myself, but love the Kenny Payne balls quote. Can't get enough of that one. Anytime, Justin, you want to come in with some Kenny Payne talking balls, feel free. And that Auburn-Georgia game, that's interesting because Auburn desperately needs that win, despite it being early in SEC play, obviously, the first week. And Georgia, if they're actually going to be worth a fart, they haven't really beaten anybody with a pulse, but this would be an opportunity for them to just take care of business. So if Auburn wins, Georgia's a fraud. If Georgia wins, then Auburn is pretty much dead to rights. But yeah, an interesting day in college basketball. Would love for Kansas to lose. The only thing I can really hang my hat on is UK's all-time win record right now. And if Kansas was just having a halfway decent year, we would be sweating greatly. But I have all the... What's the opposite of confidence, Zach Cantrell? I believe. Well, I don't know. I've got all the belief in the world.
Desperation.
I've got all belief in the world. If we leave Mark Pope here long enough, UK will no longer be the winningest program in college basketball. He's going to lose 10 games, double-digit games, I should say. 10 would be a victory at this point. But he's going to have double-digit losses again this season, just like last season. And who would have any faith that next year would be any different? Well, hold on. What if he gets the biggest nil pool and he just buys the best team? Can't get me on that one this time again. We did this already. And he totally failed because he got one decent shooter, which is a weird thing to do. He got one point guard, which was a weird thing to do. All right, let's go ahead and wrap this thing up by telling you what to watch, presented by Boom Baz Pizza and Watch Bar, pizza, beer, and sports. And I am going to try to maybe watch the end of this Auburn-Georgia game. I'm intrigued by Tennessee-Arkansas in the SEC. Rick Barnes and John Calipari, those are always fun basketball games. And then we got some NFL football tonight, Zach Cantrell, which is great as well. You've got Seahawks at 49ers and then the Panthers at Bucks starting here in just about an hour. So between those 4 games that I think that I listed and mentioned, I will be checking those out and wouldn't mind me some pizza from our friends at Boom Baz Pizza and Watch Bar. Pizza, beer, sports. What about you, Zach Cantrell?
Yeah, for me, it's Seahawks 49ers. The winner of that game gets the number 1 seed in the NFC. If the 49ers win, then they never have to leave Levi Stadium the rest of the season because that's where the Super Bowl is being played. Real opportunity for redemption for Sam Darnold, who was in this exact same spot last year when they with the Vikings, but they lost to the Lions in the game for the 1 seed, and he did not play well in that game and ended up the Vikings going home early in the wild card round. So getting the bye is obviously going to be important. The division title is important. Brock Purdy, if people don't think he's an elite quarterback, just watch him play. Ever since he's come back from injury, they lead the NFL with 37 points a game, I believe it is, and they're doing this with a lot of defensive injuries. I think right now they might be the favorite in the NFC. I think whoever wins tonight is going to be the favorite in the NFC. Not surprised that it's not Sunday night because that's Ravens-Steelers. They usually pick a win-and-in scenario. But the game tonight, I think, is probably going to be the best game of the weekend. And the weird thing is that it could have been win-and-in for both Carolina and Tampa. But now if Tampa wins, then the Falcons have to lose to Tyler Shuck and company tomorrow. So Tyler Shuck in his rookie year already having an impact on the playoff race.
I'm really shocked they don't have those games going on at the same time, just where, like, you know, you can't score watch necessarily.
I think they just assumed that the Falcons were going to lose to the Rams on Monday night, which they did not.
Yeah, no, I think you're exactly right about that. But I was a little surprised by that. But all right, as a Packers fan, Zach, we've locked in the number 7 seed. I have very low expectations with all the injuries. I'm not overly optimistic about Green Bay's chances in the playoffs. When Green Bay beats the Bears in the wild card round, would I rather Green Bay go to Seattle or would I rather Green Bay go to San Francisco?
I don't think it matters. I think they're losing either way without Micah Parsons.
All right. Well, we'll wrap it up there. Thanks, everybody, for coming out. Not the answer I was looking for. No, I'm kidding, Zach. But no. I'm kidding. That would have been funny, though.
I think it's probably Seattle just because you never know if Sam Darnold's going to have one of his turnover-prone games, which sometimes he is capable of doing. Brock Purdy's usually much more careful with the ball. It would also be, if I could have to be forced to stop Christian McCaffrey or Kenneth Walker and Zach Charbonnet, I'd probably pick the Seattle running back. So just from a defensive perspective, I think they probably match up better with Seattle. Now, Seattle's defense is really good against Jordan Love, who knows how healthy he's going to be. I would probably guess Seattle. I don't know if they're going to beat the Bears. So what I think the scenario is that if the Bears beat the Lions, then the Bears get it, the 2 seed. If they lose, then the Eagles get it. I don't think Green Bay can beat Philadelphia. I think they would have a chance against the Bears just because of familiarity and the fact that they split this year.
That's really kind of what my season is hanging on. Like what I would, obviously Green Bay has higher expectations, but when Matt LaFleur is your coach, you know, you're just not going to sniff a Super Bowl, unfortunately. But if we ended Chicago's somewhat dream season, that would be fun. Green Bay had no business losing to them in Chicago at Soldier Field to begin with. So a little redemption there would go a long way. But I agree with you. I do think the 49ers are the more talented team than Seattle, but I do think Seattle's a tougher place to win a playoff game, as I know all too well.
Yeah, that's probably true.
And then Zach,
Brandon Bostic.
Okay, that's enough. Coming off another botched onside kick recovery. All right, I'll just give you a brief moment to talk about the Colts' playoff chances and how you're feeling about Ohio State's semifinal college football playoff game.
Yeah, the Colts, like I mentioned at the top, my football teams haven't won a game since, we did beat Michigan the 2 days after Thanksgiving. So 1 win after Thanksgiving for my college and professional teams. The Colts, a lot of injuries besmirched them this year. I mean, Daniel Jones ended up tearing his Achilles, and that was basically the season there. Phillip Rivers gave him a little bit of hope, but, I mean, ultimately they weren't going much of anywhere. And Ryan Day, as I mentioned to you, I texted you this, and I think I told Strebel as well. I think Ryan Day might be Ohio State's John Calipari, where they have a ton of first-round draft picks. They make the playoff every year. They always get a high seed, but win one. And I would love to be wrong, and I've said things about Ryan Day before, like as far as I didn't know if he should still be the coach after losing to Michigan last year, and then he made me look very stupid, so I'm hoping to go reverse psychology here. But, I mean, that's just – the trench play was pitiful against Miami. The defense was not as good as expected, and that's just it was – sickening, but I will say it's better. I feel a little bit better seeing Alabama and Georgia lose too, so because both those teams have gone longer without winning a playoff game. So,
well,
at least we got that.
It's the small things in life, Zach Cantrell. That's a good outlook to have there. Whatever curse somebody has put on the Bud Light Kentucky postgame show between Zach Cantrell's sports teams and my sport team, quit it. You knock it off. Stop it. Stop.
Stop.
All right. All right, Justin.
I'll sacrifice myself to the gods somewhere.
Okay, well, take it easy because I'm going to need a.
Listen, I'm just upset because that whole time while he was talking about his team, I wanted to use the countdown again, and I just had to get it set back up, and I ran out.
I was waiting for you to.
We'll have to
I
keep
thought
that
about
in mind
it
next time, Justin. All right, everybody, have a great weekend. Thank you so much for participating in the show. We'll be back on the ESPN 680 airwaves on Wednesday after the Missouri game. There will be good moments for this UK team. I just don't know if Mark Pope's the guy. How many big games do I need to see him botch? But you know what? We're back at it Wednesday. For Zach Cantrell, I'm TJ Walker. Everybody have a good weekend and a Happy New Year.